Well, hi, this is Lawrence. Today we're having a look at this. This is, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, the Hagibis dual-sided magnetic USB-C hub. The dual-sided part is because this thing has a MagSafe magnet in the back here. So it's made for phones basically. Whatever your phone model might be, as long as it's USB-C, you can add in all these extra ports. Let's have a look at these extra ports before we go into anything else. On the one side here, you've got full-size SD, micro SD, and a USB-C port. Now that is the only USB-C port that can be used for accessories. The other side you've got the second port that can be used for accessories. If you have a look there, it's a USB-A port. And then you've got a power delivery port, so that you can put anything up to 100 watts into. So whatever power brick you might have, or if you want to charge your phone while you're using it, or in some cases, if you want to use certain accessories, you'll have to have the power, and I'll show you now. And then of course on the other side, you've got the source, where you plug it into your phone, and you've got a audio jack. As far as I understand, this is only for audio out, so you can't put it in like a microphone there. This is a 10 gigabit hub, so you'll be able to do most things on here, which we are now going to test. So first off, it's obviously pretty good because it's got a nice magnet on the one side. Well, actually it's got it on the both sides. So it'll stick to nice and securely to any of your devices that have a decent magnet in their case or in the phone itself. Obvious upsides of having something like this is you can have an SD card in here and record to it. There are some things you can't record to it, especially on the iPhone, because of the speed of the SD card is not sufficient. But we'll get into that now. You can also plug in things like obviously a little dongle so that you can plug in your external microphone in case you're doing any vlogging or what have you and you want to chat while you're doing it. This little DJI dongle fits in quite nicely and works very well. I've tested that already. However, because this is now a double-sided magnet, you can obviously plug it into your phone, and then you can have other things like power, so that you can still have an external drive or your microphones or whatever while still supplying yourself with power, which comes in handy if you're using it as your primary camera device or something like that, or you do want to do some long form stuff. But it also works nicely if you plug in something like an external drive. Now this is a little external drive that I rigged up to plug directly into my phone in case I did want to record some of the new codecs like ProRes RAW, and I can just slap it on there and plug it in and away you go. But then obviously I'm just limited to this one device because there's only one port here, which is why we now have this. So what I've tried already is if you have it this way, then it gets in the way of the camera when you're recording. So what I did was I put it this way and plugged it into the device, and then your device shows up there. However, I did find that if I mess around and start recording some of the higher codecs and that type of thing, it does eventually disconnect and reconnect. And I think that's because there's not enough power, because as soon as I plug in the power, then the drive is rock solid. There's no problems with it. And then we can go into, let's say, something like Blackmagic camera, because Blackmagic camera. Settings. Now you see here, I can record ProRes RAW, which is basically the biggest file sizes that I could possibly record on my phone, in OpenGate, in log. And if I go down to media, go to files, and it actually has that drive selected because I had already set it up, but I've gone and selected that drive as the source, as the destination. And now if we start recording, you see there's no problem, and it is actually recording to the, you can actually see the, if I could get this to focus over here, you can actually see the drive light, but you can actually see the drive is working there. So what I thought I'd do is, obviously this is a very bulky scenario here, and you don't always want power connected while you're doing stuff like this. So let's just get out of Blackmagic Camera here and disconnect this drive. And now I'm going to try with what in any camera would be fast enough to do a decent amount of video speed. This is a V60 card. I've also got to tested it with a V90, but there's not much difference in the results. I put that in there, we'll unplug the power, and that's obviously a lot nicer. So this is a little 256 gig, so we'll go back into Blackmagic Camera, and we'll go to Files, because now it's going to be confused. My other drive is not there, and we'll select this SD card. And we can now go to Cameras. And also recording Blackmagic RAW, Blackmagic ProRes RAW HQ. It seems to be working. Nope, there it failed. And that's the problem. It's just not fast enough to actually keep up with the data rate of this. So what I can do is I could go back to record and change this. Let's try ProRes, straight ProRes, high quality as well, and see if that makes any difference to, because that's obviously a lower data rate that it's going to record to. And we'll start the recording again. And it seems to be fairly secure. Okay, so it's just not fast enough to handle the ProRes RAW. But the normal ProRes HQ, which is still a fairly heavy bitrate, it seems to be working fine. Actually, let me check the size of the files, because it'll be quite interesting to see. So those ProRes files, just that brief recording was 2.19 gigabyte, which is for ProRes, it's fairly average. Obviously, there's other devices that you can plug this into. I mean, this is not just for your phones. You can plug this into whatever device you want, a laptop, and tablet, or whatever the case is, and it'll do exactly what it's doing here. The nice thing about this is obviously the size. It's very compact. It gives you extra ports to do funny things with, like external drives, although having the SD card slot in there is nice, and you can put a micro SD card in there. In fact, I think we can test that as well. Yes, we've got a decent speed micro SD here. We have 128 gig V60 as well, so we can test that. Let's take that one out there. Press this in. The only thing is, you never know which way to put it in. There we go. So now we've got to have something even smaller. And then we'll leave it at ProRes, because we know that worked with the big SD, and see what happens. So far so good. Seems to be micro SD also does the trick. Well, there we go. I'm not going to record stupid amounts on there, because why? Speaking of the micro SD slot, there is two variants of this one, and I specifically picked the one with the SD4 slots, because you actually get the ones with the SD3 slots as well, and it's only very slightly cheaper. This cost me, I think it was 50 euros, but they're now selling for 45 euros. So they're fairly reasonably priced. I mean, it's not insignificant money, but for what you're getting and for the extra usage that you can get from something like this, especially if you are using your phone as your primary recording device. In the box, you also get a magnet that you can stick onto something. I've actually got it stuck on the lid of my laptop, which is over there. It's basically just a magnet that you can put on any device in case your phone doesn't have a magnetic attachment in the case or in the phone itself. Then you can just stick that onto your case and away you go. You can now stick this onto the back of your phone. But you can use it as I have for any other device. The only difference is that I bought a second cable for when I use it on my MacBook, if I do use it on my MacBook, that comes off at an angle, and then I can magnetically attach it to the lid so that when I open it, nothing's in the way. But you don't have to be that pedantic. These cables are still like another 10 euro or something that you want to get something like that. You can also buy these little adapters. Well, I hope you liked this review of the, about to butcher the name again, Hagibis dual-sided magnetic USB-C hub. If you did, please like, subscribe, all those lovely YouTuber things. I will, of course, leave affiliate links down below for this and the cables and anything else that I showed today. If you do use them, thank you. They do support the channel. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye now.